Afternoon, my name is Mark. I'm the creator of Arcade Commander. I'm going to give you an overview of what it is and a walk through some of the screens so you can see what I've been up to lately. So Arcade Commander came out of a necessity for me to want to run Windows, a Windows front end on my ALU cabinet conversion. And there was not an Adelaide driver for Windows, and I really didn't want to do Linux. So I set out to write a driver for it. And with the help of AI, I was able to do that. And it was written in Python, and it was both a listener and a driver to the board. So the listener is for the operating system, and the driver is to drive the lights on the board. And what I needed then was a dispatching tool, and that was a language translation of LED blinky and front end language to Adelaide language. So I created AC dispatch, and that would sit in between LED blinky if you wanted to go that way, or what I've been working on now is it can just directly interface with Hyperspin, and it will be able to with other front ends as well. So then AC dispatch can talk to AC lighter, and Arcade Commander, which is the GUI front end to all of this, which I'll show you here in a little bit, also talks to AC lighter. And AC lighter, in turn, talks to your control deck, and your control deck talks to your LED board inside your controller and makes your lights do whatever you want. So in developing all of this, I had to come up with some kind of effects architecture. So what I did was I created the concept of button maps, which are not really new, but those are what is actually assigned to your RGB lights. And then effects, what they do, whether they pulse, rainbow, breathe, strobe, and any other number of effects you can create. And then you can string button maps and effects together to create animations, and you can tie those animations to events. And you can send all that to AC Lighter, and it goes back to your controller. All right. All right, let's take a look at Arcade Commander now. So this interface was designed basically to start programming buttons. And this allows you to assign up to 4 colors to any button, and the effects between them, like pulse, rainbow, strobe, and you can apply this by saving it. Let's call it map 1. We can assign the map to it. All right. And then we can see what this looks like in the emulator, as well as the board you can see in the video. You can control the speed, these sliders. I'm going to slow things down. You can assign by theme, so a whole player 1, a whole admin, a whole player 2, or you can assign each button its own color or range of colors. If you only want to cycle between 2 colors, then only just program and pick 2 colors. And you can create these button layouts, and you can assign them to any game that you want. There's basic test functionality in this as well. So you can see the LEDs, LED test, pen finder, demo mode. You can turn all the lights off. And you can even do a button test through your USB to actually press and check the buttons, but I don't have that working with this dev board yet. But I do have it working with the console. All right. So you're going to notice that this game manager dialog is repetitive in a lot of screens, and that's done to be very convenient to the end user so that you're not having to swap back and forth to tabs. Hopefully you'll find most of what you need in order to accomplish something right there in that tab. You can also see the game details. Some of these are going to have more than others. You're going to be able to see what game start, stop, screensaver, pause events that are assigned to it, and whether you chose to override. So a lot of these, if you were to get a control any of your own, and I'll show you that later, wouldn't have a lot of this assigned, and it would just load up the button colors. What this allows you to do is to replace what was originally assigned to it and make your own assignments. And then even if it's LED blinky or the front end telling you that it's this ROM, this will override it if you set it for override. All right, next screen is the emulator. Let's go back. Okay. So this is meant to be an emulator version of your console, the control deck. So you can actually get some semblance of what it'll look like. There's a catchlight effect on, simulate the button shining. Sorry, I know it's kind of cheesy, but this is Python, so you can only do so much. You can load games and see what they look like on here. You can try effects and see what they look like on here. You can try events and see what they look like on here. And it'll also light your board or your control deck at the same time with the same sequence. All right. The next cool feature of this is there's a designer. So this is where you can lay out your own boards. You'll be able to upload your own backgrounds. You can add knobs, spinners on your own. So you can drag these around. You can size them how you want. You can put your buttons where you want. You can size them. Oops, got that backwards, but you get the idea. And I'll be working out on more control layout configuration graphics as well so that you can build your own, as well as putting up some 4-player and 2-player options. So this is still in the early stages, but it should be a lot of fun. Okay, I'm going to go back to the ALU, and I'm going to switch back to the emulator. So I think that gives you a little bit of a sense. You can try some things out in here. Okay, next tab, Game Manager. So the idea behind this was for you to be able to manage all of your games. I do have 10,246 games in here. Well, probably 245, given that maybe 1 or 2 of them are demos. And I've augmented some of the data in here to have start and stop events and pause and screensavers. And I've also augmented with console colors. So you'll see a little bit of that eventually when we get to where I can show you the front end, which I have to reload my whole front end. So that won't happen in this video, but I will show you how it works and how the colors will change for every emulator when you're spinning the wheel and every game that you select. as well as start and stop effects and pause and screensaver and whatever you want to assign to it. You can create new games here. You can look at button assignments here. You can look at event assignments here, or you can look back here at the profile. Remember here in our architecture that we build effects, we build animations, and we can tie animations and effects together for longer animations, and we can tie those to events, and we can build event types if we want. This is where I really went off on a tangent. I wanted to be able to design my own effects. So I wanted some different ways to do that and think about it, and ways to create my own animations. So while I do have some pre-programmed ones, I've also added some additional custom ones. One of the things you can do with these is you can vary the rate on the effect, or if it's an animation, you can do that as well. You can vary the intensity. You can do some staggering. You can adjust a bias. You can apply sine waves, sawtooth waves. See how that basically changes things. And you can basically save all of these. Anything you build, you can save it. And you can reload it. And you'll be able to export it as well. Again, just more detail on the buttons if you want to try out what you've built. Okay. Now here's a fun little one. We can load a wave or an MP3 file. Let's do this one, smoke test. Let's see, I gotta fix that. And once we have the waveform up here, we can preview what it would look like as an effect on the buttons. We can also pick sections of this wave so we can trim into what we want. So let's say, oh, that looks like the most active section of the waveform right there. Let's see what that looks like. And then we can see what that section looks like. Then what we can do is we can actually build that into metadata so that we don't have to keep the wave around anymore. So we can build that into a sequence, and then we can save that to the library. And then we'll have that. Spelt it wrong, but then we'll have that, and we can preview it just as metadata. So the possibilities are going to be a lot of fun on this particular tab. You could play for hours in here and create effects and animations and maps, all kinds of cool things. We'll get into that more at a later time. And then this last tab, I'm still working on this as well. So this is the configuration. So hopefully for those that have online firmware, like a custom arcade does, you can go get your firmware this way. Basically, you can just see how many players you've got, those types of things, whether you've got a trackball, a spinner. What it is you have configured. This is where you can configure hyperspin. I plan on having a configuration item like this. So what this will do is it'll set up hyperspin, the arcade commander net for you. Install it, make a backup if there's anything that it touches, update your config, make a backup of that, and you can restore it back here if you just give it basically the paths to your plugin directory and where your attract config is at. These external game files are your external color any and control any that you can use and bring in if you want to have your own database. And this will allow you to install AC Lighter as a service so that it just is automatically running on your cabinet whenever you basically come online. And it does run as a service tray icon. So you can see down here in the bottom, I can also test things that way just as a sanity point to make sure that things are working. All right. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little demo, and there's more to come. I can't stop programming on it. It's addictive. I know I need to finalize this release, but I keep on thinking of just one more little thing to do or fix or add. So please be patient. And I did have the Linux version up and running, but then I came back and I needed to make some more changes on the Windows. So I'll finish the Windows version first, and then I'll get back to the Linux version, and we'll get that one out the door as well for Debian and Arch. Alrighty, thanks for joining me.